I'm completely blown away by fans' reaction to the announcement of Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya. I'm taken back by the reaction because it seems as though everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion that the Spider is just going to get straight slaughtered. I'm not at all surprised that perhaps Silva would be the betting underdog in this one, but I did not foresee the avalanche of tweets from fans and media forecasting the demise of Silva in light of this announcement. Full disclosure, I'm a longtime diehard Anderson Silva fan. I've been following that man's career very closely since 2008. I became aware of him when he debuted against Chris Lieben, which at the time caught everybody's attention. After that fight, Spike TV did a poll on their website asking who the Spider should fight next, and that poll overwhelmingly voted in favor of Anderson taking on then-champion Rich Franklin, who at the time I truly thought was unbeatable. And well, we all saw how that went, as well as 2 more dominant victories in between Silva beating Franklin even worse than he did the first time. I always remember the first fight of Silva's that I was highly anticipating when he took on Dan Henderson to unify the UFC and Pride 185-pound championships. I've traveled long and far many times to see him fight and to even attend seminars of his. The reason I say all this is because I'm acknowledging that I may have a certain degree of bias in this situation. But I feel like despite all that, I'm able to look at this thing objectively and put my feelings aside. And with all that being said, I don't think for a second that this is some sort of squash match. In fact, I could absolutely see Anderson winning this fight. But don't get me wrong about Adesanya. Anybody who has ever watched or listened to work of mine in the past knows I'm very high on Israel Adesanya, and I've been singing his praises since before he made his debut in the UFC. I'm a really big fan of the sport of professional kickboxing, and Adesanya's career in that world has been remarkable. He didn't just amass a pro record of 75-5-1, but he also holds an amateur kickboxing record of 32-0, which I find a lot of people don't really give a lot of attention to. But for me, I put a lot of stock in that amateur record, especially when it's coupled with that pro kickboxing record. I'm a believer in Adesanya, and I think he is as dangerous as the fight as Silva could possibly get right now, which is what makes this matchup so damn polarizing. But I think all these people writing Silva off are completely out to lunch. Is he a speed slower than he was in his heyday? Absolutely. Are his reflexes the same as they were during his title reign? Of course they aren't. But damn it, he still possesses that skill set. And as relevant as that point, he still possesses the desire to compete against the best mixed martial artists on the planet. To be as short as I possibly can on his last few fights, against Brunson, he didn't look bad at all. I feel like he was trying too hard to get that highlight reel finish, if anything. Brunson was visibly tentative and didn't engage like he normally does. I do believe that if Brunson were to engage more, that fight would have been different. Now, I'm not claiming that Silva would have scored the highlight reel KO for certain, but the odds of it happening would have increased exponentially. The fight versus Cormier, the now light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, well, that was a complete wash. He took that bout on a few days' notice, just a month removed from emergency gallbladder surgery in which he was still sporting the scar from. Though, it is worth noting that only one person in that fight had a moment where they got hurt, and it happened to be the guy who was preparing for a 5-round fight against John Jones. And the fight against Bisping, the man who went on to win the middleweight title just 4 months after the fact, was an amazing fight, which the Spider created a number of highlight reel moments. And I'm not here to make this argument, but it's also a fight in which the vast majority of fans at the time thought Silva should have got the nod in. A bout that happened to be in the victor's backyard of all places. I'm just saying. Either way, the point I'm making is I know that fans and media's memory when it comes to the sport is very short, and I also know that a lot of people's perspective is based off what happened most recently. But whether the Spider wins or loses, a lot of people are going to be in for a surprise. Anderson isn't what he once was, but even though he's advanced his age, he's still very capable. He's also fighting a very brave and skilled fighter who's going to be willing to play the striking game, and that has all the makings for a complete spectacle of a contest. Silva still has magic, and Adesanya is the new age Anderson Silva. The Spider always talked about his dream matchup being against his clone, and he's now going to get that opportunity. This fight could end up ending many different ways, but if you think the writing's on the wall for this one, think again.